I encourage you, if this is your first time here or you're feeling a sense of up and get to it, that you decidedly be patient. I encourage you to stay all the way through today, all the way through. I don't typically wait, but I'm going to wait today, maybe about 45 seconds. You're welcome to comment while I'm here. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Facebook. I'm going to be primarily directing my attention to Facebook. So if you like, you know, that, then I encourage you to find your way over to Facebook. If you're watching this, a month from now or in the future, then stay and watch this because it'll possibly be more, buried down on the business page if you're seeing this beyond today. So I'm Master Naima, if you don't know. And uh, the urgency to be here today came through. And that's why I'm here on a 4:30 in the afternoon on a Friday. And the message that came through to be communicated today is all in, all the way, or nothing at all. So I get a sense that it would be helpful in this transmission to share who I am and how I got here. So those of you who we share same spiritual space, you can hear it. And for those of you, so people often ask me, and who knows how long I'm going to be here. So I still encourage you to stay all the way through for your own benefit. So I get questions from people, particularly Black people, because my business now, Melanin Sovereignty, is dedicated to melanin transformational leaders. And the power that we are, the power that I am, the power that you are as a melanin transformational leader is very foreign to most people. It's even foreign to us in a lot of ways. And the times that we're living in, that we're so privileged, lucky, blessed to live in right now, is radically calling us to live out that full power and to make manifest the visions that God is placing in our hearts. And so, with the birth of Melanin Sovereignty this year, which, by the way, Melanin Sovereignty is all about teaching melanin transformational leaders how to highly monetize our high spiritual work. And so, just like quickly before I go into these questions that I'm getting, also these conversations that I'm having with melanin transformational leaders all over the world, I'm very much like I'm talking to people every day around the world, you guys, every day. 10-minute conversations, 30-minute conversations, hour-long conversations. And I'd like for you to hear what's going through the minds of other melanin transformational leaders because perhaps it's going through your mind, questions that you have that you consciously have, or even questions that you unconsciously have. Because it's going to take such vastness and willingness on your part to make manifest the big dream that's in your heart and taking it from just talking about it and wishing and dreaming and vision boarding about it to really having it. So very quickly, I'm going to deliberately say this next part very quickly. So I've always been a bucker of the status quo since I was 5. I mean, like I could give a bunch of stories, but I've always been the girl who didn't belong, who questioned everything, who didn't care about punishment. I mean, like I moved out of my mom's house at 14. Like I've always been the weird, awkward, don't belong, I don't agree with this, something is not right about this kind of chick. Okay. I've always been like this. And at 21, I started getting downloads and I went mad. I was married and I went mad. Um, Used to be on the kitchen floor, literally. My husband used to be home. I was married at the time. My husband used to be at work and I would be home on the floor in the kitchen just crying because like downloads would be coming through and I didn't know what to do with it. Like, okay, so this is my life and like what am I supposed to do with this information that's coming through? That's 21. That's like over 15 years ago, right? And fast forward in 2011, 2010-ish, 2011, I had built a fashion marketing company from the ground up. I had moved to Houston, Texas. I had divorced, moved to Houston, Texas because I wanted to like show myself that I could take care of myself because I was a kept woman in my marriage. And I went from my mom's house to my husband's house and had never lived alone as an adult and all that. And so Houston, Texas, built a fashion marketing company from the ground up. Total like even in the doing of that, people would be like, who are you? Like, how are you doing this? Coming to this city, knowing nobody. And in 4 years, I sold that company and started having a desire to coach without even knowing that there was a such thing as coaching. I didn't know there was a coaching industry. I didn't know that people made money online. I didn't know any of this. It was strictly a pull from my heart that was very like on a heart level it was easy, but the doing of it was hard. And so I sold the company, started doing videos. I could go way into how difficult that was, but I'm going to fast forward. Um, Started doing videos in 2011. In the summer, that was like spring of 2011, summer of 2011, I found out about online business, right? And officially became a coach in the fall of 2011. And I'm fasting forward, right? That's 2011. I'm moving all the way forward. 2013, fell into a deep depression. So, transformational work, the work that we're being called to do right now, which is beyond, I can see it so clearly. It is beyond what even your average successful transformational leader knows. So, I'm going to move forward and go back. So, in 2013, I fell into depression. It's a long, deep, varied, nuanced story, right? But I'm not going to get into it all now. Through that depression, there was so much, the downloads, I allowed them, right? Before I was running from them, rejecting them. And the sexuality that I have always been awakened in a new way, like wide, large, right? The largeness that's going to be required of you as a melanin transformational leader, okay? And action. Right? So, anyway, keep going. I decided I was going to make making money and service a priority. Okay. I wasn't just going to be like wanting to help people, right? And not making any money. Both are equally important, right? So I went from in 2013 when I was in depression, I had moved into my mom's house. It was bad. I was like not showering for days at a time, right? And I went from that to crossing the 7-figure mark in under 4 years. In that window of 4 years, I worked mostly with non-Black people, okay? Helping them first healing sexual trauma. That was the matter of fact, my first $100,000 was helping women heal sexual trauma. And my brand at the time was Heal Sex Shame, okay? Then I was like done with that, evolution. And it was like power with money, step into power with money. And then that became my brand. And Opulent Living was born. And then that died. And then a new brand was born, a new way, and all that. More Than Enough Money was born. And in that 4-year window and becoming an anomaly in the marketplace. So I just said that very easily. I did this, I did right. The actual creation of that is very rare for a Black woman in the transformation space. It's incredibly rare. The reason why it's so rare is because the power that is required, the willingness, the courage, the deep, extreme uncomfortability that's required. First of all, most people are not going to do it. And if a person, you particularly, are going to do it, you're going to do it somewhere where you believe that it can happen for you, where you are held in a space where the level of transformation that's required of you can actually happen. And what the fortunate thing is that the industry as is dominated by white voices. You know what I mean, right? So for you and I, most of us are not going to thrive and move through the emotional layers, like the emotional immaturity that we have, the scarcity around money, the fragility that we have around blackness and money and power and sexuality and leadership. Like all the fragility of that and the nuance of that and the richness. Most of us are not going to enroll with a white woman to navigate those things into a higher state where we're able to create the money. Now, I know that this could sound very egoic, right? And it is on a level because ego creates meaning out of things, stories. It takes ego to even create any money. It creates ego to live on planet Earth. If there was no ego, you would have no desire to have kids, to marry, to any desire to create anything outside of God's will is of the ego. And then to get into third dimension, like earthly things, I know I'm already going there, right? But that's what it is, right? To create things on the earth, right? It's thought that is also with ego that gets you to move through the polarities of being a human here on earth. I'm laughing because fuck, it's what it is, right? There's no escaping it. And so the reason why I'm a master is because I was born knowing things that are going to get melanin transformational leaders to the other side that nobody else knows. And I know, oh my God, that sounds so like, what? Believe me, I fought this. Like, it would be a lot, right, easier for me to just be a Black girl who just wants to help people. Okay, believe me, there has been fight with God around this, and you perhaps have had your own experience with you getting downloads of what your position is in life, what's your responsibility, what you are called for, and you fight it because your ego self that wants to play a certain kind of game because this is how it goes has gone into war with your God voice and your heart and your height, right? So when I say earlier about, and I know this is a lot, but it's all connected. So stay here, okay? It's gonna connect. When I said earlier about people ask me, particularly Black people, let me be clear, not just any old Black people. I mean, melanin transformational leaders who are in the spirit realm deliberately, who are doing transformational work. And I teach something or they find a video or some kind of conversation happens somewhere and they're like, how do you know this? And where'd you get this from? Do you study this deity? Do you read it? The brain? Okay, so this is large right now. Okay, so what I'm talking about all the time, particularly now, is about the largeness that will be required of you to create not even just seven figures. It's not even just that. Okay, it's not. You need to understand that you come to know that the money is only a derivative. It's a reflection. It's an outcome of you being in power, and not just. Okay, hold on. Let me move it around. There's a lot of information coming through right now. A lot, right? And even if this looks easy to you right now, I am streaming with such presence with Alonzo. So the brain, when melanin transformational leaders are asking me this question, their mortal, small, tiny brain is looking for explanation. The same way when you get a download, for those of you who fight your downloads, you fight the ancestors telling you to do things. You question it. Why? Not now. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the following. Why? Right? That, right? The brain is looking for, here at Melanin Sovereignty. See, this is why Melanin Sovereignty, this is why so many of us are not making the money in the transformational industry. Why, even if we go enroll with the white coaches, we don't win. And even if we do win on some level, it's never lasts. Because to last, when I say, I mean like energetically, I mean to be tapped into the pool of energetic resources, to really be present, to really create over a sustained period, meaning years. Evolution must always be happening. And when you get into a community where the frequency, the people in the space are white, listen, okay, they don't have the capacity to be with the largeness that melanin people are. This is what I learned being in these $50,000 coaching programs where my coach was white. The head coach was white and her team of coaches was white. And, 99% of the people in the program were white. I am an anomaly. That even happened so I could be here today, loaded, experienced, knowing what I'm talking about. Not so, and there's two different kind of knowings, right? There's the knowing that a master is born with, and there's the knowing of like what's happening down here on planet Earth with the people. Okay. So when people ask me, like, how do you know this? I'm not somebody who reads spiritual books. And it's not that I'm well, I have been opposed to it in a lot of ways, and here's why. My agreement with the all and the highest dimensions is that I will know because I actually know, not because I was told so. I know it because I got the download, I went out and lived it, and it was confirmed. Not because Eckhart Tolle said it in his book, not because Deepak Chopra said it, not because Ian Levanzant said it in her workshop, in her book, in her thing, but because I knew. And instead of me fighting what I know and questioning the ancestors and looking for external evidence of what I know, I was willing to erect and act on the courage. This is so required for your largeness. It's not negotiable. Yesterday, I felt like I wanted to cut somebody's throat. I was on my way to a doctor's appointment. I got activated, right, on a heightened level. So, as a master, I'm always activated. I'm a battery. Okay. Dr. M and I talked about this. What that means is I'm a source. Okay. I'm an electric source that's conscious, right? So, you are an electric source as well. You, at this point, most of you are unconscious to it. Now when I say that, I mean there's one thing to know, it's another. It's like knowing the path versus walking the path, right? A lot of you, as I speak, you're like, yeah, like you're like with it. You're like, I agree. Like your spirit is like, I agree. Yes, right? There's applause in your blood, right? There's applause in your spirit. There's agreement, right? And at the same time, you're not walking it, right? And I'm not blaming you right now because I'm aware of why it is the way it is right now. I'm aware. Oh my God. Oh. So, Monique Ruffin, you guys may or may not know her. She and I have been connected on Facebook for years. She did a post about how, well, I'll back it up. So the actual name of my company is called the Academy for, like, that's the legal entity, the Academy for Womanhood. The Academy for Womanhood was formed because I started seeing years ago that the world was not equipped to see women. So at the time, I was just looking at women, all women, that the world was not equipped to see a woman, to nurture a woman, that women couldn't even see themselves. Like there was just so much that I was seeing. And the Academy for Womanhood was born. And the more that I did that work, as I said, the healing sexual trauma, stepping into power with money, there was a, an expanded awareness of how much the world couldn't see the power. It's not even formulated right now to be with the power of melanin transformational leaders. It's, for example, I remember getting on it's like this sensitive. Have you ever felt such a thing where you get on an elevator with all white people? Like this happened to me. I got on an elevator with all white people, and I could feel how that space it was like a disagreement. It was like a couldn't be with, and it was all energetic. It was all vibration that I was picking up on. And it's like that walking around, right? So you can see now why it's like, even if there's like something in you that's ready to go, that's ready to get on video, that's ready to say these things, that's ready to do, there's a part of you that it's like, where's this even going to go when I say it? How's it even going to, right? Like the world can't even comprehend the largeness of what you would say. Like, no, that's deep, right? Like that might even, that might not even be a conscious thought, right? Because what I'm talking about here is bigger than inheriting traumatized DNA, being a descendant of an enslaved people, right? And keeping in mind that enslavement, what about before enslavement, right? I'm going to pause that, park that. Okay. Okay. So emotional. Okay. So this is my experience. Um, so there's, mm, wow, there's so much. So yesterday I did a video talking about biology. Okay. And this deep human need to belong. Please watch this entire video. If you got to go, come back and watch it. Watch the replay, share it. Okay. So, because what I'm talking about is so large, right? It's large, what I'm talking about here. This is large. The becoming of you, what I navigated, and even continue to, like, what will be required of you, and why up until now, maybe it has felt like too much. Like, right? And I'm talking about for those of you who have grand visions in your heart, right? Obviously, this is not for every melanin transformational leader. There's so many elements of you. Woo. So many elements of you. Emotional development, learning how to discern between your brain, your emotions, and spirit, so that when something happens with anybody, that it doesn't knock you out, that you can keep going. Wow, hold on, hold on. Uh, I would like to prepare you for extreme discomfort. I would like to prepare you for sitting in spaces where there are no answers. so that the answers that you actually do have an opportunity to bubble up and you act on them. I would like for you to DM me and let me know if you would like to work with Melanin Sovereignty. And there's a multitude of ways of doing that. You can be on the team, you can become a client, you can be an affiliate. What's going to be necessary for us to start creating containers, no container, but energetic containers for the largeness, the vastness of you, and then collectively. Because, first of all, two of us are insane alone, right? Two of us. When you start talking about five, and then 15, and then 30, and then like, this is literally the tilting of the earth, the axis, and all balancing beams that govern and move all planets. So oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. So the conversations that I'm having with Melanin Transformational Leaders, so much information is coming through, you guys, and I'm like checking channels like in real time. The conversations that I'm having with Melanin Transformational Leaders, there's a lot of talk and very little action. There's this verbal expression of visions, but not moving. And I mean moving in a big way. I mean, okay, you say your vision is to have this land and to have multiple locations on different continents and for your grandchildren's grandchildren, but you're not moving, right? Melanin Sovereignty is home base. And that's not because I just want you as a client. I mean, I had a speaker who came and gave money yesterday and I refunded that. This is not about just money. This is about, all in, all the way, or nothing at all? So what I'm talking about on some level is foreign to you. Like, I'm making it, just by my talking about it, I'm making it real. Then actions are taken to line up. So if the goal for you with your vast vision, the large, right, that requires a largeness of you and taking action and being support. So in the conversations that I'm having, thank you. What I'm realizing, so it's taking all this also and bringing it down into practicality, because even for me, it's very easy to get big thinking into things high up off the ground. And I know that's really easy when you start talking about the heart and spirit and God. So right. It's so easy to be up in the air in the sky and about it. How do we bring that down into practical steps? This is what Melanin Sovereignty exists for. So big money it sounds lofty and kind of like big and wow and over there until you start stepping into the power that we teach you at Melanin Sovereignty. Being willing to come into a container, which requires you investing money. Now, this might sound, this is not to talk down to those of you who already know this. I'm just, the conversations that I'm having, I'm realizing how much it's important for me to say things plainly. Things that I think are understood, I must say them plainly. Okay. So I was on the phone with a Melanin Transformational Leader yesterday. Here's an example. And I was sharing with her that in 2014, like I told you guys, I came back out into the industry, and it was between 2014 and 4 years out that I crossed the 7-figure mark, right? And at the same time, there were other white coaches who were not on the same level as me, because I was way down there, but were not as famous as they are now, not as well paid as they are now, right? And I could see, because I knew, I kind of started watching them in 2013. And then in 2014, I saw a shift in them, just like there was a shift in me and there was a shift in others, where it was clear that there were decisions that were made behind the scenes, just like there was a decision made for me behind the scenes that, okay, we are really coming out into the marketplace for real. in a big way. And we all started enrolling with different coaches in the industry, the ones who were known and, successful and all that. And now those white women have influenced other white women, and that has increased the number of white women who are successful online in the coaching space. Now, I chose to remain obscure for a few reasons. One, I resisted walking through the door of master, first of all, and that resistance started in 2017. Number two, I recognized how alone I was. So when I said earlier about the work that's going to be required of you to really come into the largeness that's going to be required for you to create the money, the team, the resources, and whatever, that most of us are not going to do that under the tutelage or in any kind of harmony with a white coach. I didn't have that either. That's how I know that it does not exist and that it will not happen, or is radically unlikely that it will happen. Okay. And frankly, I got sick and tired of coaching white women, right? And that's nothing against white women. Please be clear. This is nothing against white women. It's just my heart was hungering to see melanin transformational leaders crush it, dominate, and for them to create what I created and even more. And so there was a connection. Where's the connection? The conversation that I had yesterday with the melanin transformational leader. And this is a woman I've talked to multiple times, where there's vision, right? And it's not just her, right? Where there's vision, there's desire, there's power. Oh my God, power, fierce, radical power, going nowhere. And when I say going nowhere, I mean, it's not that there's no movement, but it's not deliberately in the direction of the big dream. And here's the thing, what I keep saying to these leaders is make a decision about where you're going to go. Don't be in this kind of limbo state. Make a decision. Are you going to go hire another coach? Do that. Are you going to come in with melanin sovereignty? I can assure you that no one has the capacity. And this is not just me wanting to make it so, right? You read people's frequency on the internet. You're watching people. You know what's out there. Remember I told you earlier that my experience is my entire life I have been the outcast? It's because my wiring is that of the all. Everything is allowed in my space with intentionality and decisiveness, except for pedophilia, right? That literally came through my mind right before I hit live here, except for pedophilia. So here we go. Thank you. So much information. So the name of this video is All the Way. What is it exactly? All the way, all the time, or nothing at all, right? In order for you to be able to be, oh, yes, thank you. Oh, this is a lot. There's going to be a series or something coming, you guys. Yep, thank you. See, that download just came through. There's going to be a series because of the largeness of this. So, first is biology, the fear on a biological level because of the conditioning that has happened, first of all, to women, then to Black women, that has you, when you go in the direction of your heart, your highest dream, your highest self, all your fear activates, like fear of not belonging, fear of people rejecting you, fear of people not liking you, fear, like all that, right? Then there's the conditioning, being a Black person, right? Inheriting all that. And the largeness that's required of you is going to, the demand of it is going to be required when those feelings come. Ooh. When you feel afraid, when you feel heavy, when you, like right there, when you feel like you want to quit, when you feel like you're afraid you don't belong, you start feeling like a little girl, you feel yourself collapsing inside of yourself, and all of that is happening You will be responsible to be larger than that. Now, this doesn't mean you won't feel, right? It's learning how to become larger than. So now here it is right here. So this is the download that had this start earlier today. That every single spirit, every single spirit. See, this is why, ooh, every single spirit, favorable and unfavorable, good and bad, that, and only you can decide. Only your ego makes this good or bad, right? So something that would be like off. This is off. This feels bad. This is when you go make a decision to enroll with Melanin Sovereignty, for example. And what happens in the enrollment is that, like, even before I came here live today, my heart started beating, right? Because I knew, right? I'm available for the downloads to come through. When whatever you decide to go start doing video, telling the real truth about what you have to say, right? You go make some kind of big decision. All of the fear of you in the middle of the night activates, right? Keeps you locked down, keeps you, even for those of you who have been watching me for 7 years and ain't made a move. There are people like that who have been watching me for 2, 3. They tell me, I've been watching you for 3 years, and I've been watching you for 6 years, and I've been on your email list for 8 years, and like all this kind of thing, right? And have gone nowhere because the fear, I had a woman told me, this was some years ago, and she enrolled to work with me, and she told me when she enrolled with me, Naima, you know, I've been running from your emails. I've been running from your emails. So what we're teaching you here at Melanin Sovereignty is how to be with every spirit so that you don't run from it. So, for example, pussy, right? Money, large money. Visibility. Saying, right? Imagine yourself doing these things. Imagine yourself talking about pussy and power on a video on Facebook. Imagine yourself talking about, I'm just going to guess that Dr. Alexis. Right? That you have some work that you have been instructed to do in the world, some kind of vision that you are called to bring forth. And that in order for you to bring that forth, that part of you that's afraid of being perceived as a greedy witch, the part of you that's afraid of being perceived as a whore, the part of you that's the spirit of all of that, you must allow. So you swallow it and you allow it and you get excited about it and you like literally open up everything about it so that it doesn't have power over you. You get that? So, for example, let's take your average deep South Christian, right? Let's say you're Mississippi Christian, hardcore Christian who has her interpretation of the Bible, right? And this is not to bash, this is to give an example, right? Because in the Black community, that's a lot of what I hear in these conversations that I'm having, that folks are, moving away from Christianity, or they feel bound, or right, whatever, you know what I mean, right? And this Christian has her beliefs, right? And those are her beliefs, right? And so she has a desire to do something, this Christian with these hardcore beliefs that are tight, and this is what it is, right? And this desire that she has requires her to do something, say something, be something that would make her feel this thing that is in conflict with the belief system that she's been taught all these years. Because of that, she will never be able to come into the large power that's necessary for her to bring the vision to life. So how do you get around that? How do you get around feeling disempowered or weak in an area, or like you can't, or it's too much, or It's wrong or bad or nasty. That's a good one right there for women. Nasty, whore, like all that, right? You become it. I did a video on this on YouTube, like I think last year, that you become the thing you fear, so it no longer has power over you. Now, am I saying go and fuck every? For example, if you have a fear of being a whore, do you go fuck every guy so you don't so you get up? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying allow yourself to feel the feelings of being a whore, and not only that, revel in it. Like I'm sitting here right now with my legs open deliberately. So when I would there's so much to talk about, and I think I'm going to wrap this up in like maybe 20 minutes because a series is going to come, and I'm going to really break this down. I'm going to, yeah. Um, so in the Black community, what I hear with a lot of Black transformational leaders is that there's like the woman yesterday talked about symbolism, right? She's like, because institutions have taught us that it's not cool for Black women to make large amounts of money. Like she says something like that. And if you're watching this, you know who I'm talking about, and I'm saying it wrong, pardon me, and you can correct me. You can shoot me a text, okay? But it was something like that because I was telling her that at the end of the day, melanin transformational leaders making highly monetizing their high spiritual work is the gateway to power because everything that's in them that's a lie must be confronted for them to create their reality. That's part of why the money matters. And she's like, well, systems, the symbolism in the world, nobody says it directly, but all the symbolism in the world says that Black women are not supposed to or are not allowed to make money and make large amounts of money. And then I hear the thing about blending spirituality and money, and you're not supposed to blend spirituality with money and definitely not large amounts of money. And then there's the whole thing about Black women are so sexualized already. How dare we be pussy empowered and be public about it, right? And then there's the thing about leadership and this like fear of being powerful and being in the presence of other powerful women and then not being liked by women because you're powerful, and then what people think if you're powerful, and oh, Black women are attacked in a different way, and when you let people see how powerful you really are, then you put yourself under, it's like a target on your back. And so don't be too powerful because then you'll get attacked and then you'll die, and oh my God, like all that, right? You know, I used to have a literal, actual fear, like beyond fear, terror of being killed. Like literally, like I was in Atlanta on my own tour. It was called Better Sex and Deeper Intimacy. This was in 2014. And I was scheduled to speak. We had a tour, right? And I was scheduled to speak in Atlanta. And I literally thought somebody was going to come to my event and kill me. I had to peel like there was no like evidence of this. It was all in me. Literally, I thought somebody was going to come kill me. It was an entirely Black audience with one white dude who was sitting to the back on the right-hand side. And I was convinced that this was the guy who was going to kill me. This is how deep it runs in us, right? How many women do you know who get through the fear of being killed and then create so profoundly? Who's Black? This is why melanin sovereignty exists. All of the things that you would consider profane and inappropriate and not allowed and ugly and dangerous and unsafe and proud and greedy and like everything that you on some level reject because it's not supposed to be, because you're Black, because women don't do that, because somebody will kill you, because it's not appropriate, because it's not all of that you must allow to become large. And that's what melanin sovereignty allows and teaches. We have the container here where your pussy gets a chance to speak and be. Nobody else can even do this. That's Black. That's Black. So there's no need to run from me. There's no need to run from you. Because really, when you're running from me, you're running from you. You just see the power in yourself and me, or you already see the power. There's no need to run from me. There's no need to be afraid of being your full power in my presence. See, that's another way that we have been tricked and this is universal too. This part is not just a Black woman thing. All women, there's this thing about being powerful in the presence of another woman. And oh God, you know, at a group, they might attack me. They might not be my friend. They might kick me out the group. That right, y'all. That's unnecessary here in Melanin Sovereignty. Like, this is true love. Like, you know, that love where it's like, as long as you're like us, you're allowed, right? Anybody who actually has the audacity and the strength and the awareness and the is in the same spiritual vibration to enroll to come work with Melanin Sovereignty, who has been approved. And I'm very sensitive to who enrolls to work with us. Like I said, the woman who signed up to be a speaker, I hadn't even talked to her. She sent her payment to be a speaker on the Melanin Sovereignty Summit. And didn't know who she was, didn't know how she came about, nothing. But instantly, without knowing anything about her, Spirit said, no, no. And I refunded the money. Who actually is allowed to come into Melanin Sovereignty, particularly as a client? There's radical agreement there to play at these levels and allow the largeness that's going to be required for you to withstand feeling like somebody's going to kill you when you start speaking the truth in public. Being able to withstand your mom or your husband or boyfriend or your girlfriends or whoever questioning, are you okay? Are you okay? I have a client right now who has been like, man, like, I got a front row seat